what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. We should mention that Death Valley was fantastic on Saturday night. You were there, Jake. What was it like being in that stadium?
Oh, it was great. It was old peak Death Valley. It was everybody staying there, even in the blowout, right? And it was. I mean, in that game, you could kind of feel the way it was going to go. But the crowd stayed. The crowd was great. The student section's been great all season long.
Yeah.
Like, they have stayed regardless of what the score is on some of these games. And so it was good to see it the way it should be and the way it's kind of always been. And I know that sometimes it's difficult to have that happen now, but I think after a long layoff of not having a home game, right, and you've only had two to this point, you were on the road a couple of weeks in a row, that doesn't happen too often. And so I think people were clamoring to get back into the stadium, and it was fun, man. Star-studded too, man. A lot of big people in there to watch the Tigers take care of Auburn.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of big people. Then you had the number one quarterback in the nation, number one player in the nation, and Bryce Underwood for 2025 in the building. You definitely put your best foot forward there.
Yeah.
I mean, legendary. Said it's you in Michigan right now. It's early, but it's you in Michigan. I mean, legendary performance, legendary venue. Watching a quarterback just have overwhelming success, right?
Yeah.
Like, you really couldn't have done a better pitch in that regard. So just shout out to everybody who got out there and made it so crazy and made it so loud and so hard for the Auburn Tigers. I still want to get some more offense up, but let's shift over to the defense quickly. Look, this was definite defensive improvement. The run stuffs, I thought, from the defensive line were the best they've been all year long, no longer allowing the offensive line to reset the line of scrimmage. A yard and two on your side of the ball. I thought guys fought well. Again, we don't want to go too crazy with this, right? Because the defense looked pretty damn good against Mississippi State, and then look what happened. Because this is like look at what Mizzou did to Kentucky on Saturday. You've been facing very good offenses, like some of the best in the country. Auburn, that is not, and so you did what you need to do against bad offense, and I give you credit for that. There's still things to work on. I thought Alexander had a strong game in coverage, but the guy got a highlight off the bat because his performances and going to get lost in the shuffle in the story of just how bad the LSU defense is overall. But Harold Perkins right now is playing his ass off. He is, and it's been the last few games. Yeah. He's been great really almost since Grambling, like Mississippi State on. Once you started the SEC, Harold Perkins came alive. Remember against State, he had that pass breakup in the end zone, then immediately the next play came up with a third down sack. Yep. Well, he's kept that streak going, and the TFL early on the swing pass was just an athletic act of beauty. The sack was raw, shot out of a cannon speed. There was a little swing pass at the end of the game that didn't really matter, maybe like late third, early fourth, Jake, and Perk had dropped into coverage and passed his guy off, and then, I don't know, he's maybe 15, 20 yards away when that swing pass starts to get thrown, and he comes up with a TFL. It is speed unlike I've ever really seen on a football field. Oh, and then who stopped Peyton Thorne from getting the first down on the 4th and 5 when he tried to scramble? Harold Perkins and that speed. So Hercules was all over the field Saturday night.
The closing speed is unmatched almost. And he just time and time again, you see him just hawk down really good athletes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, athletes that typically they don't have that happen to them. And so, yeah, I mean, him playing at the level that he's playing at is going to be crucial here down the stretch. And just looking at what we saw from the defense, this was probably the first time that they've been healthy in a while as well. Like, you saw Omar Spates go out there and play 52 plays.
Yeah, and he looked better than he's looked all year.
Yes. I mean, I think it's been his best game, and you started to see a little bit of different rotation. I thought Jordan Jefferson had another game, kind of went away last game. We didn't really, talk about him a lot after talking about him so much before. I thought he came back. He might have actually had his best game.
He did the dirty work here. Didn't get a splash play. Right. Didn't get like a big TFL, but he was When I talk about the defensive line not getting pushed around and having good run stuffs, he was the one setting that wall a lot of times, taking on the double teams and not getting pushed back.
Yeah, I thought he was a highlight. And if you go back and you watch the All-22, like T-Bob's saying, like it's not going to – if you just box score watch, it's not going to flash. Maybe even TV copy, it might not, splash. But this is somebody that certainly held his own. Again, I thought he held point. I thought he was somebody that kind of opened up some of those lanes for those linebackers to go make some plays. And Omar Speights did have his best game, I think, in a Tiger uniform. And he looked healthy for the first time because, it was the last week. He had a hitch in his get-up still.
Yeah, he's had one the whole season.
Yeah.
Really. And it's why Weeks has looked so much just more dynamic in terms of moving. I still think I was a little surprised they didn't play Weeks more, but, I like you said, we'll.
Well, yeah, the defensive snaps – so you had 65 total plays. Harold Perkins, Major Burns, Andre Sam, they played, it says 58 plays in the game, so they kind of led there.
Feels like Parashan got a lot more run this game. He flashed a couple of times. Nice game from
24
Shan.
snaps, probably his highest total. Mekhi Wingo only played 20. Mason Smith played 42. Jordan Jefferson played 31, so his is way up because he's typically somewhere in that 20 range. Jacoby Guillory played 18 plays, probably his most this year as well. So that defensive line was rotating more than they have. Now, the linebackers did not. Whit Weeks played 9 plays. I mentioned Speights played 52. Greg Penn played 56.
Yeah, it feels right.
I switched it for you too.
This was a this was a great look. This was and also this was a Penn and Speights sort of game, right?
Yes.
So a running team, maybe if it's more coverage, maybe Weeks plays more. Like we'll have to wait and see. I thought I liked seeing Mekhi Wingo get the sack before half, stop off for pulling any scores, score halftime score shenanigans.
Yeah.
I still think Savion Jones loses contain a little too much. I'd like to see him be a little better on the edge, but I did love, and Kelly DeRay, he talked about this in the post-game press conference. This defense is finally doing a good job, a much better job of being disciplined and trusting their teammates and trusting your assignment and not trying to do too much. There were a couple, and this happened over the last couple of weeks, but there were a couple times this game where maybe a quarterback gets outside the pocket, he's running, and a player, instead of breaking off and trying to stop the quarterback, stays on his receiver. And granted, it looks funny because, he stays on the receiver as the quarterback starting to run behind him, and maybe the quarterback gets some extra yards. But what they don't get is the 80-yard busted play touchdown.
Yeah. Okay,
you live to fight another day. And I think you're just seeing a lot more assignment discipline out of this defense, which, like, if you are not great personnel wise, which obviously they are not in the secondary, you have to control the controllables. You can't get bigger, stronger, faster within whatever. What you can do your job and execute what the call is. And although it won't be perfect and you'll allow that 15-yard scramble and everything, maybe it won't, but over time, it'll do enough to allow this offense to win you the game.
I think you're exactly right. And one of the things is when you turn on the tape, you just want to see them in the right positions in certain situations. Yes, when the quarterback scrambles, man, you've got to know your responsibility. You have to know that if the quarterback runs 7 yards, it's much better than a 70-yard gainer behind you, like we've talked about. But also, like in zone coverage, you have a zone. That's why it's called zone coverage. You have an area that you have to go commit to and cover, and much better this game, certainly than it has been the last few games. There was no floating, right? I thought Omar Speights had his best coverage game at the linebacker position. I thought Sage Ryan had his best game in coverage as well. Getting to the point, knowing your responsibility, and then defending your responsibility. And so when you don't have maybe, hey, we can't go man across the board because right now the talent's not there to do that. Well, if you play zone, you have to do those things. You have to do the little things. And so that's what was so frustrating before is, okay, well, you're calling this to kind of not be a safe call, but try to keep things in front of you. But it's not working because you're not doing what the call is saying. You're not doing your responsibility. And that's why you were getting burned a lot of times. And so to see them actually do what the call says, to play it really well, it sounds elementary, but that is growth for this
but they
defense.
weren't doing the elementary things until they ended up as the worst in the country. So do the elementary things and you'll get better. And I thought Alexander did better, man. Now he's going to be tested against better receivers, obviously, but they attacked him and they attacked him a bunch, and he held up well. And like Brian Kelly said, the bottom line with Alexander is just continuing to get that aggression, like get him to play with that aggression, play for the ball in the air. If you make a mistake, get burned, have the confidence that, okay, if we duel again, I'm going to win that fight. And Alexander was really solid this game. For sure.
Yeah, I thought this was, again, like we keep saying it, probably his best. And I know the offense that they win against, but still, it is good to see like the things on tape that you're supposed to be doing. So yes, offense be damned. Like you can take a look at this and be encouraged by the growth that you saw from their individual matchups and what they did, not just the bad offense that they played.
Yeah, statistically, you're the worst defense in the country. So you can't really look any gift horse in the mouth like we talked about. Like you can't take any matchup for granted, and this defense did a really good job. Sub 20 points, coming up with the stops and not let it get weird, like I said, before half or anything going into the second half.
Hey, you held them less than Georgia did.
Yeah, true. I mean, you did. I mean, you played them much, obviously. You kicked their ass. Georgia did not at all. And that's one of the things that was surprising, again, because Georgia's offensive line struggled with that Auburn defensive line. Your offensive line made them look like they just didn't really exist.
I was looking at the pass protection grades. Will Campbell, 88%. Miles Frazier, 86%. Lance Hurd, 81%. Yeah. Dellinger, 75%. Charles Turner was the only one that wasn't in the 70s. He was at 69%. I mean, that's
he's just going for his number.
Yeah, that's dominant.
It's crazy. It's crazy. They're boring in how dominant they are, which is the ultimate compliment you can give to an offensive line. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.